What's up, guys? Amster Knows Hoops back today with another video. And today, guys, we are on to episode 3 of the position ranking and then overall player ranking. I guess you call it mini series for the offseason. And today we are doing the small forward position. I'm going to be quite honest. This was just as difficult because at some point I stopped thinking of names. Yeah, I just sort of got there and I was like, man. Because you know how it is, too. You got to determine who do you really determine as a small forward versus a power forward, especially in today's league where guys are kind of positionless. But don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. We are at 791 subs. We are 9 subs away. Literally share it with a friend. Send it to a friend. Whether or not they get mad at it, whatever. Get, the word spread. So don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And without further ado, just a reminder, I try my best to keep the list burdened free of bias, but obviously I'm human, just like all of you in the comments who would have your opinions. And then I try my best to go off of stats, but also what I've seen of some of these players. So let's just kind of get right into it. At number 10, now number 10 was very tough for me because I had a couple names. You have guys like DeMar DeRozan, you have guys like McDaniels, you got guys like OG. You're kind of just torn on like, okay, where do I go with all this? Like, what do I take? You have guys like Denny Adia. But at number 10, I'm taking J-Mac. Jaden McDaniels for me is number 10. DeMar and those other names I mentioned did not make this list. They were very close. But for me, I guess I'm also a little bit banking on McDaniels' upside offensively, especially what we saw in the playoffs. So he went from an 11 point per game scorer to like 12 in the postseason on 43 from 3, which is a ginormous jump from what he was in the regular season. And then 51 from the field, which is just another 3% better. And obviously what he's giving you defensively, I don't think I need to really point that out. I think he's one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. Easily one of the best wing defenders. But for me, I think there's a bit of a gap, to be honest, between 10 and the rest of this list. Not that J-Mac is bad or awful. Obviously, I have him as a top 10 guy at his position. But I'm pretty comfortably taking these guys above him pretty easily. So number 9, the recently signed New York Knicks, OG Anunoby. Averaged 15, 4, and 2 on 49 from the field, 38 from 3, 75 from the line, and obviously giving you about 2 blocks, or a block and 2 steals. OG, I think, the reason I like him over a guy like J-Mac, I just like his consistency in the offensive game. I think, especially what we're going to see with the Knicks, the 3-and-D ability, and his switchability defensively, I think, is going to be immaculate. Now, he'll be turning 27 here in actually about 16 days, so like 2 weeks from now. I think OG is legit, but I also think at this point in his career, I think he's like, it's kind of crazy. Like, he's 6 years into his career now. We know what he is. He's a 3rd to 4th option guy on a really great team that actually is trying to contend for a title, like with the Knicks. I would say he's probably the 4th best player on the Knicks. Or no, 5th? Because you have Brunson, Randall, Mikal. Oh, yeah, so 4th. And I think that's fine. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think McDaniels is a similar kind of player. I just think his offensive game is this close to being next, stepped up. But I've got OG Anunoby there at number 9. And I think there's a gap. Because I think these guys are solidified 2s to maybe number 3s. But what they give me, I just value more. Because, again, I think on the offensive side of the basketball, they're giving me more. And their defense is not to be slouched on. It's just not as good as OG's. So, at number 8, you got Franz Wagner. Now, Franz's 3-ball was disgusting this year. Actually atrocious. And he definitely had a fall off from the post, from the playoffs, from the regular season. But he gave you this year, he gave you 25 and 4 on 48 from the field, 28 from 3, which is awful, 85 from the line, which in the playoffs went to about 19, 41 from the field, 27 from 3, and 89 from the line, with about 7 boards and 4 assists, with about a block and a steal a game. Franz, I think I like Franz's game a lot. I think it for sure has a long ways to go. The 3-ball needs it, bro. I ain't even worried about nothing else with Franz this summer. If I'm with Franz, again, like his trainer, his whatever, we're getting back to shooting, because before this year, he was 36% from 3 on 5 a game, which is the exact same, but all of a sudden now he's like nearly 10% worse, and 35% on 3 his rookie season. I think Franz is a legit number 2. I think at his best he should be a number 3. Because I just think even on this Magic team, I think they need maybe it's not even a third scoring option, but they need that distributor. And as good as Franz is as a ball handler, playmaker, helper to Paolo, I don't think either are meant to be your primary ball handler on a team. So I think that's sort of what holds me back from putting Franz any higher on the list. But his defense is obviously still extremely legit. He's a big, I wouldn't say, no, he's a big reason why the Magic got to where they were as a defensive unit this year. He's been pretty consistent throughout his career too, playing almost 80 games every year. I think Franz for sure could grow on this list, but something is telling me this will probably be around where he is for a lot of his career. I think it'll be really, really good. I don't think he'll ever necessarily be great. And if he does, I'm more than okay with being wrong, because I love Franz. I love his game. And he's the big reason I like the Magic. And I've grown on Paolo a lot. Pause. The dude's just about to turn 23 in a month. So, still very young. Can still develop the game. We'll see. So then coming in at number 7, I've got Scottie Barnes. Scottie had his, you could say his breakout year almost, averaging 28 and 6 on 48 from the field, 34 from 3, and about 78 from the line. Now, obviously, he hasn't been in the playoffs as this version of himself. But man, he's legit stepped up. Because I do remember around the beginning of the year, I started hearing, Scottie's actually hooping, like Scottie's going kind of crazy. And then he kind of cooled off. But towards the end of the year, he started to get it kind of going again. And I think this dude is legit. Do I think that he's a number 1 option? Absolutely not. I do not think that's him. But I guess the difference between him and Franz for me is he's starting to look more like someone I genuinely can sit down and believe, like, yeah, this could be your number 1, or not number 1, your solidified number 2 guy on a championship caliber team, depending on who your number 1 is. And again, I would say that they're still similar, though. Like, if you told me, Scottie's the third option, I want to be like, that's impossible. He shouldn't be. I think he could be your third option still, because the guy got after him is the third option. But I think Scottie has out of the 3 names in this little grouping, I guess you could say, he's got the most potential to be like, no. This third option thing ain't for me. I'm a 2. But I don't think any of these dudes are number 1s. Not even close. But again, averaging 28 and 6 is remarkable. Now, he just got the bag, and he's in Toronto. Now, I don't know how we as fans are going to value that because of how poo-poo they're going to be. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, so Scottie Barnes comes in at number 7. And then at number 6, the new New York Knick, Mikal Bridges, who averaged 25 and 4, 44 from the field, 37 from 3, 81 from the line, 0.4 blocks and a steal. Now, I'd actually made a video about Mikal Bridges. And you guys had loved that video last season. Or 2 years ago, sorry. And I sort of talked about what I thought Mikal Bridges could be. And I said at his best, he could be maybe a souped up Chris Middleton. I think from what I saw this year, I probably bought a bit too much into the hype. I think he's kind of shown this year he's a for sure number 3 option. Like, when he's on this Knicks team, he's their third scoring option. It's Brunson is the first, Randall's the second, and Bridges is the pretty clear-cut third guy. Because I think compared to some of the names I've given before, except for Franz and Scottie, I trust Bridges to put the ball on the floor. He can create for himself a little bit. more than capable, guy to make the read. But I think he gives you I think a consistency of both worlds. Like, the thing is with Scotty and Franz, I've seen both of them offensively have their issues. Defensively, they're good. They're just not as good as a Mikal. And then I think Mikal offensively doesn't necessarily hit the highs that the other two hit. But I think he hits a consistency of, like, by this point in his career, he'll give you 15 a night. And you're getting that 15, fairly efficient from the three, from the field. But he's going to give you the points that he needs to give you. I just think this season, and it's interesting because I've had some conversations like in Discord and stuff, and I was told, Mikal's defense has fallen off. I don't think so. When you're on a team as bad as Brooklyn was, at some point, you're not going to waste your energy putting in. Now, is that right? No. But at the same time, for a guy like Mikal, you can't just throw yourself away there. So I think, to be honest, Mikal at 6 is where we now start another gap above him. All the 5 names I got here on small forwards, unless you are 1,000% doing some Victor Wembanyama, I think in 3 years this dude's going to be top 10 player in the league projections. I'm taking over everybody on the list before it pretty handily. So at number 5, I've got Brandon Ingram, who averaged 21, 5, and 6 on 49 from the field, 36 from 3, 80 from the line. Now, I will say BI's playoffs were awful, like genuinely atrocious. 14 points, 35 from the field, 25 from 3, 5 and 3. Now, I will say he was hurt, but as the homie Turkey on Discord would say, hey, man, if you get out there on that court and you play, I got to judge you. Now, if you play like 2 games and you get hurt, I think it's a little bit different. Because then at that point, it's like, it is what it is. But at the same time, man, with all the rumors of getting traded, but now they got DeJounte, I think Brandon Ingram right now, I still think he's their second best player. He's their second option. Like, I want him with the ball in his hands more than I do DeJounte. Easily. I don't think it's close. But I think having someone else help him to be a secondary playmaker and creator will, I think, show a lot of people his game is even better. Because that's what the Pelicans have been missing for a long time. Them, the Clippers, and now the Magic we're all in that category of needing point guard play now. Like, they need someone to help facilitate, help, kind of not let the guard position be a consistent one that's attacked. And now you got DeJounte. I love Ingram as a scorer. I think he's got the 3 levels. He's good from the midi. He can finish at the rim. He's got the 3 ball. More than good enough at the passer. Now, his defense isn't very great, but I think his offensive upside is something I'm banking on more than a lot of, the players below him. And then these top 4, I think you guys are all going to have an idea of who the names are. I will say KD is not a small forward, so I'll put that out there now. I have him as a power forward. So at number 4, I got Jimmy Butler. Average 21, 5, and 5, 50 from the field, 41 from 3. Don't be fooled, though. That's on 3 a game or 2.4 a game. With 1.3 steals and 0.3 blocks. To be 100% honest, Jimmy was very disappointing this year. It's not because of the playoffs or missing the playoffs. It's just the whole you missing however many games in the regular season, and it's kind of blatantly showing that it's because you just don't care, and then you don't make the play-in, and then you actually get hurt because you're trying to flop against the 76ers. It hurts a little bit. I think this was a season that definitely sold me on my number 3 guy here. Pretty definitively, I'm taking him over Jimmy. Unless, again, Jimmy goes ballistic in the playoffs, but I don't know, man. At some point, I think I've reached a steady ground of this is just who he is, and that's fine. But I think Jimmy's an elite player, almost nearly in the top 10 range, like top 15. But that defense is good. The offense is just, I don't know, man. The trolling at some points has got to stop. At number 3, I have the 2024 NBA champion, Jason Tatum. Average 27, 8, and 5 with a steal and round up a block. 47 from the field, 38 from 3, 83 from the line in the regular season. However, my thing with Tatum was these playoffs gave you 25, 10, and 6. So you're thinking, Emster, that's awesome. When you're 43% from the field and you're 28% from 3, and then you've got, where is it? 86 from the line, which he's always been a good free throw shooter. Never has been his thing. It's always sort of been my issue with Tatum. I've talked about it before, I think, on this channel a little bit. The inconsistency is huge. And again, the thing is, when you have guys who are Tatum guys, like I have Tatum top 10. I guess I'll spoil that part of the top 10 video. I think he's a top 10 player in the league. And I'm not really concerned. But when you have guys who then even try and take it a step farther and go, he's top 5, or he's over dudes like Embiid, of that tier, or Luka, to me, I think he is a legitimate two-way player. I just think the offense is inconsistent, and I don't think the defense is necessarily as great as everyone says it is. Like, I think Jaylen Brown is genuinely a better defender than Jason Tatum. Do I think it's an immaculate margin? Absolutely not. I don't think it's some, like, canyon of a gap. But I also don't think, like, a lot of people will tell you Tatum is just sort of clearly the better defender. I don't think so. Again, shout out to Tatum. He's a hooper for sure. But I think his inconsistencies and flaws as a number one has still shown themselves. Like, yes, they won, and I get that, and that's well and good. And he is the best player on Boston, guys. Can we stop wasting time on this whole who's the best player? It's Jason Tatum. But I think these playoffs also showed I don't think you're just that caliber of a number one guy. And then at number 2, I'm sure I'm going to get some of y'all pissed with this. I have Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi this regular season averaged 24, 6, and 4 on 53 from the field, 42 from the line, 89 from the field, and gave you about 2 steals and a block. Now, I know you guys are thinking, but Emster, he got hurt. And Emster, you just talked about what he did in the play. And I agree. His playoffs were atrocious, right? He averaged 12, 8, and 2 on 46 from the field, 0 from 3, and 67 from the line. But to me, what I saw in the regular season and what I've been seeing sort of since, my thing is like, as bad as he played, and he played worse than Tatum in the playoffs, so let me make that clear. I'm not saying he played better than Tatum in the playoffs. Absolutely not. But I would also say it doesn't help your case for Tatum over Kawhi off of this year's playoffs, because he wasn't very good in them. The year that they actually went ahead and won it all was, since he's become like the Jason Tatum we sort of know now, by far his worst playoff run. I don't think it's even close. I don't think you really can make an argument otherwise. Whereas I think Kawhi had one of his better seasons since he's been on with the Clippers for, the full year. I just think for whatever reason, the knee got messed up at the worst possible time. I will say, this is probably my last season with Kawhi this high. If literally the same thing happens again, at that point, I'm sorry, homie. You're my favorite player in the league, favorite player to watch, easily. But I can't. Like, at some point, reality is reality. We got to move. And then at number 1, at age 40, people getting mad on Twitter, you have LeBron James, who this year averaged 26, 7, and 8 on 54 from the field, 41 from 3, 75 from the line. I will say him and Kawhi are really close for me. just because I don't think either one of them are like a top 5 player anymore. And for me, LeBron and Kawhi both have moments where they look like them old selves, and when they do, they look like a top 5 player in the league. Like, they just look like they can't be messed with. But then they'll also have moments where they look incredibly mid, and I'm just sort of saying here like, come on, man. I think Tatum in 2 years will probably have this number 1 spot pretty cinched up. Barring, I guess, any crazy player just bursting onto the scene and just being like, yeah, no, bro, like, it's me. I think Bron had a really good season. I understand why Kawhi got the second team versus LeBron's third team. I mean, considering that Kawhi played, I would say, was a much better defender. And obviously LeBron's a better passer, playmaker. Scoring's about the same. So yeah, so my 10, just for reminders, I had Jaden McDaniels at 10 with a gap, OG, Franz, Scotty Barnes, and Mikal in a similar tier. Then there's a gap, pretty significant. BI, little bit, then another gap, and then Jimmy, Tatum, Kawhi, LeBron. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree with this? Do you guys have Tatum number 1? Is Kawhi off your list entirely? Who's your number 10? Do you have dudes like Danny Adia in there? Let me know what you guys think down below. As always, this was Nose Hoops. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's hit 800 subs. Have a beautiful rest of your day, guys. Peace out.